Hey, we're live.
We are live. I'm barely alive.
Why are
I'm
you
tired,
barely?
man.
You're why are you barely alive?
Well, I was in Colorado yesterday
What were we
for
doing in Colorado?
um it was a national exercise on election security, which was a
Ooh,
really interesting thing. It's still going on. It's a 3-day thing. It's all 50 states, and I was invited to participate at the behest of one of our customers, somebody who I'm doing some work for.
mm-hmm,
And I
mm-hmm.
can't remember how many states were there yesterday. I think about a dozen in the U.S. Virgin Islands, who I will say contributed some really great content.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. Federal agencies were there, Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and in fact, the opening remarks were given by Secretary Mayorkas. It was pretty cool.
No kidding.
Yeah,
No kidding. So it was an exercise. Like, what was the scenario?
I can't tell you.
What?
So there's this thing called TLP, the traffic light protocol. This is
Yeah,
TLP yellow. That doesn't
yeah.
include an audience like LinkedIn. I can talk to you later about it if you're interested because you're in my organization, but it can't be shared with the public.
Oh, well, hmm. I feel either special or sort of mad on behalf of everybody else. Well, in this theoretical thing, did we win? Did the elections go off smoothly?
So there's no win to these exercises. I'll say that how can I choose my words? As a result, we
Mm-hmm.
will be better prepared for what's coming. I actually do wish I could talk about it, but I really can't. I can say one thing about this. I
Yeah.
would say that this was positioned as a cyber exercise, which is why I got called in.
Mm-hmm.
Very little of it was about cyber and, being having our election system penetrated by another government. That's not really what it was about. I'll tell you later.
Hmm. I feel like for the sake of the LinkedIn audience, like we should give them more, but that's okay. So it's Thursday. What can we talk about? What are you allowed to talk about, Mike?
Um, First, I think we need to make folks aware of some vulnerabilities that need attention now. First one is if you have a SonicWall SMA 100 VPN or a secure remote access device,
Mm-hmm.
which is running unpatched end of life version 8.x firmware, your ransomware demise is imminent.
What do you mean?
I mean, they've said, in fact, SonicWall said, if you are using this, you are in imminent danger of a ransomware attack. Those are the words used. So if you have one of those, you need to replace it. And if you have other products with version 8 firmware, you need to patch immediately.
Well, that's not good.
No,
Is it under attack now?
this is under an active attack right now.
Oh, well, shoot. Okay.
Right? This stuff
Uh,
happens quickly now. They
I
announce
know, I
a
know, I
vulnerability,
know.
and all of a sudden everybody uses, Shodan or something like that to scan the internet and find the vulnerables, and they go right after them.
Yeah, I mean, like SolarWinds,
Mm-hmm.
sounds like they're under attack again too, right?
Yep. And this time it's the ServView FTP server that comes with the product. Microsoft is saying with high confidence that a Chinese group is exploiting this, and there is no details on how the attack works that I saw, but turn that thing off. FTP should have died in the 70s. Interesting details on this one too, on how this Chinese group launches attacks from botnets made of routers or other IoT devices. And to me, that signifies a lot of home stuff, which is reliably vulnerable and poorly configured.
Nice dig on home IT, Mike.
Prove me wrong.
All right, so aren't we speaking of things that are happening on my computer?
Mm-hmm.
Aren't we patching Microsoft systems again and again and again? Is this what, third time in 2 weeks? Fourth
Yeah,
time? What is it?
yeah.
Third, fourth,
There's a
something like
lot
that.
of rebooting going on. Yeah. What is it? 177 vulnerabilities, including 9 0 days. So for your desktops,
9 0 days.
9 0 days,
Cool.
7 or 9. I think it's 9 for your desktops and laptops. The computer you're sitting in front of right now. Reboot when Microsoft gives you the red dot for sure. Server people, you may want to escalate your normal patching schedule to handle this because of all the 0 day vulnerabilities. You might want to treat this need to patch as an incident and really escalate that.
Oh, well, that sounds familiar. Fred
Hmm.
Langston, who we work with, wrote a white paper on that. Actually, you know what? We were going to do a white paper, and then Dark Reading picked it up as an article, so a lot of people got to
Oh,
see it. I'll put it in the chat, but if you don't see the chat, email me at jake@criticalinsight.com, and I'll send it to you. That's a lot of vulnerabilities, Mike, and that patching, it's urgent. It's urgent,
hmm.
urgent, urgent.
It is urgent.
Speaking of urgent, there's a big story right now about the Revel ransomware gang. What is going on there?
So, first of all, I've found that it's pronounced "are evil," and I know that because that's what Rachel Maddow called it. And so, I believe smart people. But this is interesting. There was a development last night that I think is going to get a lot of attention today in other countries.
Hmm.
So our evil has disappeared. No more infrastructure, no more communication, no more dark web market for ransomware as a service, no nothing. So our evil, as you will remember, is responsible for some really big events that include JBS Meats, which disrupted the food supply chain, Colonial Pipeline, which disrupted the energy supply chain, and the Kaseya hack that hit more than 1,000 organizations simultaneously with ransomware, many of which are still trying to dig out. And in fact, little sidebar here, um, because they've gone dark, so just I can tell you we have firsthand knowledge of this because we're getting phone calls.
Yeah.
There are customers that have, in fact, here's one in particular. They got ransomware. They paid the ransom. They got the key. They started to use the decryption key, and in a lot of cases, it didn't work. And now the gang is gone, so there's no customer service to help them out on this. And
Customer
they're
service.
yeah, yeah, right. I mean,
Yeah,
they ran a help
I
desk
know, I know,
so
I
that
know, I
so
know.
that if you were having problem with your decryption key or whatever, payment or whatever, they were there to help you, right?
Hmm.
And this is bad.
It is bad.
Yeah.
So, but wait. So back to our evil, Revel, Revel, whatever we want to call them.
Yeah, right.
What's the prevailing theory on on what happened here? I mean, I understand. It could be the U.S. government took them down. The Russian government made them go off.
Hmm.
They left because they're getting too much heat. And if that happens, they probably just open up under a different name. Like what's going on?
So great question. It doesn't appear as though it was the U.S. government based on the fact that their servers didn't get hacked and their domains were not seized. Right, those are two tactics that the U.S. uses. They may have left of their own volition because it's clear that the U.S. government is coming for them. I don't think they're all that worried about that because being insulated in Russia, they have been showing us the middle finger over and over and over, even after we changed our rhetoric and started calling ransomware attacks terrorism when they're directed at critical infrastructure. So I think Vlad himself may have given the order to shut down, not in an attempt to rejoin the community of non-criminal countries, but because I think the Russians had intelligence that we are going to use different tactics to prove that criminal gangs have the backing of the Russian government, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
different.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, how do we know? Like, I'm under the impression that we use the intelligence community, private sector, military, to do attribution. And when we do that, we can sometimes identify individuals and then put them on a naughty list.
Hmm.
But that doesn't pull in the government as a partner. So what's the new tactic?
The new tactic is actually an old tactic that we're dusting off and bringing back for a new purpose. It's called the Rewards for Justice program. And the Department of State, apparently, is offering $10 million for information leading to the identification or location of any person who, while acting at the direction or under the control of a foreign government, participates in malicious cyber activities against U.S. critical infrastructure, blah, 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 in violation of, get this, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Okay. So we're going to use our domestic statute here to attempt to not prosecute criminals, but go after the government. We're going to use this terrorist tactic, make the reward big enough to get people's attention, and try to get someone on the inside to roll over for the money. But to be clear, we're not going for the gang. We're going after the government.
I mean, I think that even if it doesn't get someone to roll over, that'll cause a lot of mistrust and infighting in the government. Is that the plan?
The government and within the gangs, I think that is the plan. Yeah, it appears to me to be an attempt to shortcut the process of detailed attribution that's necessary to implicate a foreign government in collusion or cooperation with organized crime. If the U.S. government can incentivize someone to provide evidence of that, paying out $10 million is probably a good deal considering the resources we bring to bear with the intelligence community for the same outcome. And remember, when the intelligence community gives an outcome, is that we determine with moderate confidence or high confidence, right? It's always a confidence. It's never an assured thing, right? And Vlad is always, well, show us the proof that we actually do these things, right? And because we get our proof through intelligence means, we can't say what the proof is because that exposes how we do it, right? So, this is an interesting tactic that we're going to use. And remember, Russians have intelligence. They can probably, understand conversations that are going on within the government. And if we're planning to do something like bring this, rewards for justice program to bear on them, they probably have some foreknowledge of that. And I think Vlad pulled the ripcord, especially because our evil has hit our critical food supply chain, energy supply chain, very broad ransomware. I mean, the handwriting is on the wall that we're going to come after him. So.
Well, I mean, one of the questions in there, and one of the reasons I'm looking skeptical of this whole thing is $10 million sounds like a lot of money, but when you think of the ransoms have been a lot more than that. Like, is $10 million enough? Like, I don't know.
I don't know if you're some low level guy in the gang, and you have a lot of information, and
yeah.
I mean, this can incentivize some people for sure.
Sure. I mean, look, it's worked for the mafia. It's worked for all sorts of things. And, just what was it yesterday? The prosecutors in D.C. announced that the guy on the January 6th, insurrection, who was hanging from the, you saw him hanging in the back of the Senate chamber or House chamber. I can't remember. Anyway, that he, that he's going to flip on people. So,
this is what we do.
That's how it works. All right. So we know about threats and vulnerabilities. We know about the demise of the our evil gang. How the U.S. government's changing tactics to go after Russia, to finger them for ransomware. That all makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. We always do a kicker at the end of this where you make people laugh. What do you got, Mike?
Okay, this week it has to be the guy that found the best way to cut through and get customer service with Verizon, which if you've ever tried that, it's a painstaking process. So their customer support was being unresponsive, which to me means he couldn't get through. And what he figured out is that if you want attention, you don't call their help desk, you don't call customer support, you call collections. His theory was that someone would be staring at the phone, eagerly awaiting phone calls for people to pay up, and he was right. So then collections routed his call directly to customer support, where he was handled. And that is some nice hacking.
That seems pretty smart. That seems pretty smart. As Larry David
you're
would
gonna
say,
take that one?
I'm going to take that one. I take that one. As Larry David would say, pretty good. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us. The link to Fred's paper is in the chat. Again, if you can't see the chat or you don't have it there, or you're watching this later or whatever on YouTube, email me, jake@criticalinsight.com, and I'll kick it over to you. Have an awesome day. Stay away from our evil.
Patch your stuff.
Get rid of the SonicWall device.
Get rid of the SonicWall.
And if you have thoughts on election security, fill up Mike's inbox. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Have a good day.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, Jake.